There comes a moment in every person's life when they realize that the difference between success and failure, peace and chaos, isn't what happens to them. It's how they think about what happens. The mind is the most powerful tool we possess, yet few ever learn to control it. The ones who do become unstoppable. Today, we'll uncover 10 lessons that will help you build an unshakable mindset. A mind that doesn't bend under pressure, doesn't crumble in adversity, and never loses faith in its vision. A mind built on these lessons cannot be broken. It may bend, but it will never collapse. It may stumble, but it will always rise. Because strength isn't found in the absence of difficulty. It's forged in the presence of it. Build your mindset until no storm can shake your peace, no failure can break your faith, and no obstacle can stop your progress. That is what it means to have an unshakable mind. Your mind is like fertile soil. Whatever you plant will grow. If you plant weeds, you'll get weeds. If you plant flowers, you'll get beauty. Most people live their lives unaware of what they allow to take root in their minds. They let fear, doubt, gossip, and negativity seep in quietly, unaware that these are the very seeds shaping their reality. What you feed your mind determines what your life becomes. Every word you hear, every thought you entertain, every image you visualize becomes part of your mental environment. And your mind, whether you realize it or not, is always absorbing, always building, always creating based on that environment. If you constantly expose yourself to pessimism, drama, and fear, you will begin to think and act in ways that reflect those things. You will find yourself worrying more, doubting more, complaining more. But if you feed your mind with positive ideas, principles of growth, of perseverance, words of wisdom, and thoughts of success, your mind begins to shift. It starts to align with the frequency of success, clarity, and calmness. It becomes a mind that sees opportunities instead of obstacles, solutions instead of problems. The human mind cannot reject what it consistently consumes. It simply becomes what it repeatedly focuses on. Every day, the average person is bombarded with information from the news, social media, and conversations filled with worry, envy, and frustration. It is easy to be swept into this stream of negativity without noticing it. But a person seeking to build an unshakable mindset must guard their thoughts like a soldier guards a fortress. You cannot allow every idea to enter because some ideas are poison. The moment you begin to filter what enters your mental space, you begin to take control of your destiny. You start deciding which thoughts deserve your attention and which ones do not. You can't always control what happens around you, but you can always control what you choose to think about it. Two people can face the same event. One sees defeat, the other sees a lesson. The difference isn't in the event itself, it's in what they fed their mind before the event ever occurred. One had been feeding fear, the other had been feeding faith. You see, the mind doesn't respond to reality, it responds to perception. And perception is built through repetition of thought. Whatever you feed your mind every day becomes your lens for interpreting life. Think of your thoughts as fuel. What you put in determines how far you can go. A person who fuels their mind with doubt will run out of energy when challenges appear. A person who fuels their mind with belief will keep going even when the road gets hard. You must become intentional about your mental diet. Read books that elevate your thinking. Listen to voices that remind you of your potential. Surround yourself with people who challenge you to rise higher. The goal isn't to be blindly positive, but to be consciously selective, knowing that your thoughts are the architects of your reality. When you start to feed your mind with strong, uplifting, empowering ideas, your inner world begins to change. You begin to notice that your reactions are calmer, your focus sharper, and your confidence stronger. What used to shake you now barely moves you, because you've built inner strength through conscious conditioning. Just as the body grows through exercise, the mind grows through disciplined input. Every day becomes a training ground. Every thought becomes a repetition. You are sculpting your mental muscles through what you feed them. And it's not just about what you listen to or read. It's also about what you say to yourself. The words you use internally are the most powerful nutrients of all. If you constantly tell yourself you can't, that you're not ready, that you don't have what it takes, your mind will obey. But if you feed it thoughts of determination, courage, and belief, it will start finding ways to make those thoughts real. The subconscious mind doesn't argue. It accepts. Feed it doubt, and it creates limitation. Feed it vision, and it creates possibility. The mind mirrors what it receives. That is why control over your mental diet is the foundation of an unshakable mindset. The moment a person accepts full responsibility for everything in their life, a profound shift occurs within them. Most people spend years blaming circumstances, other people, and bad luck for where they are. They say things like, if only I had better opportunities, or if they hadn't treated me that way, or if things were different, I'd be happy. But the truth is, as long as you give your power away to excuses, you stay powerless. Responsibility is the act of reclaiming that power. It means saying, I am where I am because of the decisions I've made. And I can change where I'm going by changing what I do next. That moment of realization marks the beginning of true strength. Taking responsibility is not about guilt or self-blame. It's about ownership. It's about understanding that you are the captain of your mind and the director of your own movie. Whatever happens outside of you is not always within your control. But your interpretation, reaction, and next move always are. The person who takes responsibility stops waiting for someone to fix their situation and begins to act. They stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what can I learn from this? What can I do about it? That shift in mindset transforms a victim into a leader. When you take full responsibility, you begin to see that every problem carries within it the seed of growth. If you failed, it's not because the world is unfair. It's because there's something you didn't yet understand, a skill you need to learn, a discipline you need to strengthen. Each time you respond with ownership, you train your mind to see control where others see chaos. You start building mental stability because you no longer depend on the outside world for your sense of direction. You know that your results come from your actions, and your actions come from your choices, and choices are always within your control. Responsibility removes fear because it gives clarity. When you know that you are responsible for your life, there's no need to fear what might happen. You know you will face it with strength. You stop running from challenges because you understand that every challenge is an invitation to grow stronger. People who avoid responsibility live in constant anxiety because they always feel like life is happening to them. People who embrace it live with quiet confidence because they know they can handle whatever life brings. Excuses are the language of weakness. Every time you make one, you reinforce the idea that you are not in control. Every time you refuse to make one, you grow stronger. There's immense freedom in saying, this is my life, and it's my job to shape it. No one is coming to save you. No one is going to hand you the life you want. You must build it, and to build it, you must first believe that you can. Responsibility gives birth to that belief because it reminds you that your destiny is not written by fate, but by daily action. The mind becomes unshakable when it stops relying on circumstances to determine its mood, motivation, or purpose. When you take full responsibility, your sense of control no longer comes from outside approval or success. It comes from knowing that no matter what happens, you will respond with discipline and purpose. This inner assurance creates resilience. It's what allows a person to stand firm in loss, in failure, in uncertainty, because their foundation is built on ownership, not on luck. Many people confuse responsibility with control. They think that taking responsibility means controlling everything that happens. It doesn't. It means controlling yourself in everything that happens. It means choosing your thoughts, managing your emotions, and taking the next right step even when things are unfair or unclear. It means not waiting for ideal conditions before acting, because you understand that progress begins with decision, not perfection. Responsibility doesn't make life easier. It makes you stronger. And when you become stronger, life feels easier. There's a powerful sense of peace that comes when you stop blaming others and start owning your life. You no longer waste energy on resentment, envy, or regret. You focus that energy on improvement. You stop asking for sympathy and start creating solutions. Every mistake becomes a lesson, every failure becomes feedback, and every setback becomes preparation for something greater. Responsibility transforms suffering into strategy, confusion into clarity, and weakness into wisdom. When you take ownership of your thoughts, actions, and outcomes, you stop being at the mercy of the world and start becoming the master of it. The mind is like a wild horse. It will run in every direction unless you train it to obey. Most people allow their thoughts to drift without control. They wake up reacting to whatever happens, jumping from worry to distraction to fear without realizing that every thought is shaping their emotional state and behavior. The disciplined mind, on the other hand, moves with intention. It doesn't wander aimlessly through anxiety or doubt. It chooses what to focus on and holds that focus long enough for it to take root and create results. Discipline of thought is the foundation of every form of achievement, because without control over your thoughts, you cannot control your life. When you learn to discipline your thoughts, you begin to understand how powerful your focus really is. Whatever you give mental energy to expands. When you dwell on fear, fear grows. When you dwell on problems, problems multiply. But when you direct your mind toward purpose, towards growth, towards solutions, your life starts to organize itself around that focus. The mind is a loyal servant. It will bring you whatever you train it to look for. The problem is that most people train it unconsciously, feeding it fear and distraction, then wondering why they feel lost. Thought discipline means taking command of this process, deciding what deserves your attention and what doesn't. The practice begins with awareness. You must first notice how often your thoughts drift toward negativity or doubt. The average person spends much of the day repeating the same unhelpful thoughts they had yesterday. Those thoughts create emotions, and those emotions shape their decisions. By disciplining your thoughts, you interrupt this cycle. You replace habitual worry with deliberate focus. You begin to catch yourself when your mind starts feeding on fear or comparison, and you redirect it towards something useful. At first it's difficult, but like any form of training, it becomes easier with repetition. A disciplined mind is not empty, it's focused. It doesn't fight every negative thought that appears. It simply refuses to entertain it. Just as you would ignore noise that doesn't serve you, you learn to ignore mental chatter that drains your energy. The goal is not to suppress your thoughts, but to master them. You become the observer, the one who chooses which thoughts to accept and which to release. This control creates inner stability. You are no longer tossed around by emotion or circumstance. You move through challenges with a calm, centered awareness because you have trained your mind to remain steady under pressure. Every moment of discipline strengthens your inner foundation. When you choose to think clearly instead of emotionally reacting, you train your brain to respond instead of panic. When you hold your attention on gratitude instead of lack, your perspective begins to shift. Over time, your mental habits become automatic. They start working for you instead of against you. The person who practices thought discipline becomes the architect of their own experience. They are not carried by the tide of random thinking, but guided by purpose and clarity. Discipline of thought also means learning to focus on one goal at a time. The undisciplined mind tries to chase too many things, scattering its energy and achieving little. The disciplined mind channels all its energy into a single direction until progress is made. It understands that focus is power, and every distraction weakens that power. Each time you pull your attention back from unnecessary thoughts, you reclaim energy that can be used to build, to create, to grow. Success is not the result of luck or genius as much as it is the result of sustained, focused thinking. You must also be careful with what you allow your imagination to dwell upon. The images you hold in your mind influence your emotions and behavior more than any external event. The person who imagines failure will begin to act in ways that lead to it. The person who imagines success and holds that image consistently will begin to attract the opportunities and ideas that make it real. The key is consistency. A disciplined mind returns to its vision repeatedly, even when the world tries to distract it. It keeps its mental picture clear and strong, knowing that the outer world will eventually reflect the inner one. Discipline of thought is not a single act. It's a daily practice. It's the way you respond when frustration arises, when fear whispers, when doubt knocks at the door. Each time you choose focus over distraction, patience over reaction, belief over worry, you strengthen your mental muscles. Over time, this control gives you peace, confidence, and direction. You no longer chase fleeting emotions or impulses. You move with intention. The mind, once your master, becomes your greatest servant. Working tirelessly to build the life you've trained it to believe in. Perfection is a trap that stops more people from progressing than failure ever could. It's the voice that says, "Wait until everything is right. You're not ready yet. You need to have it all figured out first." That voice keeps dreams locked inside the mind, waiting for a moment that never arrives. Growth, on the other hand, is movement. It doesn't demand perfection. It demands persistence. The truth is, nothing great ever begins perfectly. Every master was once a beginner stumbling through mistakes. Every success story began with uncertainty. The only difference between those who grow and those who remain stuck is that the ones who grow keep moving despite imperfection. When you shift your focus from perfection to progress, you begin to experience freedom. You stop being paralyzed by the fear of doing it wrong, and you start learning through doing. Each imperfect action becomes a lesson that refines your understanding. The growth mindset recognizes that mistakes are not signs of weakness, they are proof of effort. The person seeking perfection fears failure and therefore avoids taking action. The person seeking growth understands that failure is part of the process and therefore uses it as feedback. This simple shift changes the entire direction of your life. Instead of chasing flawless outcomes, you start chasing improvement, and improvement compounds over time. Perfection focuses on the destination, growth focuses on the journey. The moment you fall in love with progress, you begin to build momentum. Even the smallest step forward adds up when it's consistent. That one extra effort, that single day of practice, that small change in thinking, each one moves you closer to mastery. You begin to see that growth isn't about speed, it's about consistency. The people who appear unstoppable are not perfect. They've just trained themselves to keep going, learning, and adjusting no matter how messy the process looks. The perfectionist mind is fragile because it depends on flawless conditions to act. It waits for certainty, for approval, for the right time. The growth-oriented mind is unshakable because it adapts. It doesn't wait for things to be perfect. It works with what's available. It sees every mistake as a lesson, every setback as training, every failure as data. It keeps moving forward because it knows that the process itself is what creates strength. The oak tree doesn't grow overnight. It grows slowly, season after season, weathering storms and change. That's how character and confidence are built, through steady, imperfect growth. Growth requires humility. It means admitting you don't know everything, being willing to learn, and staying open to correction. Perfection seeks to protect the ego, growth seeks to expand it. When you choose growth, you stop needing to appear flawless. You stop pretending to have it all together. You focus instead on becoming better than you were yesterday. That mindset builds resilience because it removes the fear of failure. If your only goal is improvement, failure loses its sting. It becomes information. Every experience, good or bad, becomes valuable because it teaches you something that helps you grow stronger, wiser, and more capable. The growth mindset also nurtures patience. You begin to understand that meaningful change takes time. Muscles don't grow after one workout. Skills don't develop after one attempt. Mindsets don't shift after one revelation. Everything worthwhile demands repetition. You keep showing up day after day, not because it's easy, but because you know that every repetition is shaping you. Even when progress feels invisible, it's happening beneath the surface, preparing you for moments of breakthrough that only come to those who persist. The pursuit of perfection often hides insecurity, the need to control how others see you. Growth, however, is rooted in inner confidence. You stop performing and start evolving. You no longer seek validation through flawless outcomes. You find satisfaction in effort itself. The process becomes your teacher, and your mistakes become your mentors. Each time you learn something new, each time you push a little further than before, you build trust in yourself. You realize that success doesn't come from being perfect, but from being consistent. Growth is the art of staying in motion. It's choosing progress over pride, curiosity over comfort, patience over panic. It's the daily practice of improving your thinking, your habits, and your response to challenges. You start to see that the destination is not somewhere far away. It's the person you are becoming each time you choose to keep moving, to keep learning, and to keep growing. No matter how imperfect the path may seem, resistance is the test life gives to those who are serious about growth. The moment you decide to change, to improve, to build something greater than yourself, you will face opposition. It may come from other people, from circumstances, or from within your own mind. That resistance is not a sign to stop. It is the signal that you are on the right path. Nothing strong is ever built without pressure. The same force that breaks the weak strengthens the determined. When you expect resistance, you stop seeing it as a problem and start recognizing it as part of the process. Every dream you chase will demand proof of your commitment. The universe does not hand over rewards easily. It asks, "How badly do you want this?" and then watches how you respond when things get hard. The person who gives up when challenged was never ready to grow. The person who endures, who keeps moving forward through difficulty, develops an unshakable mind. The trials that seem to stand in your way are actually shaping your strength. The pressure you feel is carving out capacity, preparing you for what you've asked for. Growth and resistance cannot be separated. One cannot exist without the other. The human mind naturally avoids discomfort. It wants ease, familiarity, and control. But nothing extraordinary is born from comfort. Resistance is what separates those who wish from those who will. When you face setbacks, you can either retreat into self-pity or rise into self-mastery. Every moment of resistance gives you a choice to stay where you are or to evolve. If you learn to welcome that resistance as training rather than punishment, it loses its power to discourage you. It becomes the gym of the mind where endurance, focus, and patience are built. People often believe that successful individuals somehow had an easier path, but that is an illusion. The strongest minds have been forged in fire. They have endured failure, criticism, loneliness, and doubt. But instead of breaking, they learned to bend. They understood that obstacles are not there to block you. They are there to build you. Each challenge teaches you discipline. Each setback teaches you humility. Each delay strengthens your belief in the process. Resistance is not meant to destroy you. It is meant to reveal how much strength lies dormant within you. When you begin to expect resistance, you no longer waste energy being surprised by it. You start preparing for it mentally. You know that the path to any worthwhile goal will test you repeatedly, and you are ready to stand firm. This expectation creates calmness in the face of adversity. When others panic, you remain composed because you've accepted that the journey will not be smooth. You stop chasing ease and start chasing endurance. Every challenge becomes a classroom where you learn to manage frustration, doubt, and fatigue. Each time you push through, your threshold for discomfort increases and your confidence grows. Resistance also reveals what you truly believe. It exposes whether your goals are built on desire or on discipline. When everything is easy, motivation feels natural. But when the excitement fades and all that's left is work, your real mindset shows. The person with a fragile mind quits. The person with an unshakable mind digs deeper, reminding themselves why they started. They learn to find meaning in the struggle itself. That is the secret to mental toughness. Not avoiding pain, but finding purpose within it. The more resistance you face, the stronger you can become, if you choose to see it that way. Every obstacle is an opportunity to practice resilience. Every failure is a lesson in endurance. Every rejection is a reminder to refine your vision and sharpen your skills. The unshakable mind doesn't see resistance as a wall, but as a mirror reflecting what still needs to be strengthened. You don't build confidence by avoiding difficulty. You build it by surviving it. By standing tall when everything around you tells you to give up. In time, resistance stops feeling like an enemy and starts feeling like a companion that walks beside growth. You start recognizing its value, knowing that it keeps you humble, focused, and disciplined. It teaches you to stay calm when things go wrong, to stay patient when progress is slow, and to stay faithful when results haven't yet appeared. It becomes proof that you are alive, that you are moving, that you are stretching beyond what you once believed was possible. Faith in the process is the quiet strength behind every great achievement. It's the ability to keep moving forward even when you cannot see the results yet. Most people begin with enthusiasm but lose momentum when progress isn't visible. They expect instant outcomes, and when they don't come, they doubt the path, doubt themselves, and sometimes abandon the very process that was working. The truth is that growth is rarely seen in real time. It happens slowly, silently beneath the surface, like a seed taking root before it breaks through the soil. The person who trusts this unseen process gains a power that others cannot understand. The power of patience, persistence, and belief in timing. Faith in the process does not mean blind hope. It means confidence built on effort. When you know you're putting in the work, when you know your habits are right, when you know your direction is clear, you can move forward without constantly questioning whether it's working. You understand that every small step matters, even when the destination feels far away. The disciplined person doesn't demand proof before continuing. They continue because they know that proof always arrives after consistency. This kind of faith protects you from discouragement because your motivation no longer depends on external results. It comes from internal conviction. The greatest test of faith comes in the waiting period, the time between effort and reward. That's where most people give up, not because the process failed, but because they grew impatient. They confuse delay with denial. They can't see that the time it takes is part of the transformation. The process isn't just building results, it's building you. It's strengthening your character, refining your patience, deepening your understanding. Faith allows you to endure that invisible phase without panic. You stop asking, when will this happen? And start saying, I know it's happening, I just can't see it yet. That calm certainty becomes your advantage in a world obsessed with immediacy. There's a rhythm to growth, and everything in nature reflects it. A tree doesn't rush its seasons. The tide doesn't fight the moon's pull. The caterpillar doesn't question its time inside the cocoon. Yet people often resist their own timing, comparing their progress to others, doubting their worth, because they aren't where they thought they'd be. Faith in the process frees you from that comparison. It reminds you that your journey is unique, that what's meant for you will come when you are prepared for it. You learn to trust the seasons of your own life, to sow, to nurture, to wait, and to harvest at the right time. This kind of faith also transforms how you respond to setbacks. Instead of viewing them as failures, you begin to see them as necessary corrections. Every detour teaches you something essential for the next phase. The process isn't punishing you, it's preparing you. The delay, the challenge, the unexpected twist, all of it is shaping you into the person capable of sustaining what you're asking for. Without that shaping, even success would crumble. Faith keeps you calm through those rough stages because you understand they are temporary. You no longer measure your progress by how things look, you measure it by how steady your belief remains. Faith in the process builds emotional stability. It prevents you from reacting impulsively when things don't go your way. You stop making decisions from fear and start making them from trust. You learn to keep showing up on the hard days, doing the work with the same commitment as when things were easy. You develop consistency, and consistency becomes your power. Over time, this steady effort compounds into mastery. People may call it luck when they see your success, but what they're really seeing is the reward of sustained faith, a process carried out long enough to bear visible fruit. Every dream requires this invisible season of faith. There will be moments when no one believes in you, when progress feels non-existent, when doubt whispers that you should quit. But faith reminds you that progress is not always visible to the eye. It's happening beneath the surface, aligning circumstances, building strength, and preparing breakthroughs. Those who trust the process long enough to outlast frustration are the ones who eventually rise. Their faith becomes unshakable, not because everything was easy, but because they learned that the unseen work is just as valuable as the visible results,